Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, where we left our last video, so we'll start the from there here. So we are discussing the managed and unmanaged table. As we normally see in the lot of places, people will get some confusion. It is like the very basic confusion. So just I wanted to clear here. And if you know more about this, it will be helpful for you to understand the better on this part. So I thought to create one more video related to this. So let's discuss the managed versus unmanaged table in the Databricks, a comprehensive comparison. So we'll do the comparison here. It's related to the cost, how the data will get stored, which one is the beneficial and the non-beneficial, which one we have to be used, the scenario and all. So let's start understanding. So we have discussed it many times in the our past video. So what is the managed table, unmanaged table, and the way of creating this table? So we'll deep dive into the same thing. Just before that, I like to brush up that if you are directly hitting into this video, so just wanted to give the detail on the managed and unmanaged table. So after that, we'll discuss how this the get stored and more about the cost. Understanding managed and unmanaged table in the Databricks on Azure. So the basically we'll cover here Azure, or you can if the Databricks AWS or the GCP you are using, it will be the same concept, whatever the cloud you are going to use. But I am just taking one of the example here, the Azure cloud. Databricks operate on the different cloud platform like Azure, AWS, and the GCP, utilizing the underlying storage resources provided by these services rather than having its own dedicated cloud storage. As we know, the Databricks don't have their dedicated cloud. So the whatever the cloud we are going to use, so underlying the storage, Databricks will get used. So this is the main thing we have to be understand. Below is the overview of the managed and unmanaged table, their storage configuration and associated cost. Managed versus unmanaged table. Managed table definition: data is stored in the location managed by Databricks. See, understand here, we are telling the data will stored under the Databricks managed location, but that location is not the Databricks. That location is the external cloud provider only. So the storage location, this default location is often Azure Data Lake storage. If we are using the Azure cloud or the Blob storage, the key feature, you do not specify the path managed table. Databricks handle the storage and life cycle of the management. Here, the very simple of the table creation way. So we do not want to specify the path, because while configuring the Databricks, if you are configure, I like to cover that the next part is the practical related video. But like the while Databricks workspace or the Databricks resource when we'll create, so we have to give the default location, and that's the location. Many times we'll give the Azure data lake storage. Okay, so implementation: managed table data is typically stored in the Databricks file system, the DBFS. The data will get stored in the file system, but this is not the Databricks storage, which is layered top of the cloud. So understand here, the layer is top of the cloud. The cloud means like the whatever the Azure cloud. So DBFS is top of the ADLS cloud. Okay, so unmanaged table or the external table, will understand here. The data is stored in a specific location controlled by the user. Here, like we have the freedom, user or like the team, the business have the control on that. It is the shared location kind of the things. Storage option, user can choose the storage data in any path within the Azure Blob storage or ADLS. Means it's not like the dedicated, because like while creating the Databricks, we have to be give the dedicated storage, but here we have the different folder in the Databricks, in the Azure cloud. It may be the folder ADLS or the Blob. We can use that while creating the table. We can view that supply path. From there, file will get start fetching the data, and top of that, we can create the schema, creating the unmanaged table. The key feature: you have full control over here. The data is stored, allowing you to specify the path during the creation. See, as we know, like the any path we can give. As I told, the we can give the ADLS path or the Blob storage path, any folder. There is no restriction here. We have the full control. Default storage configuration in Azure Databricks. When the setting of the Databricks workspace, Azure, a default storage account is linked to the workspace, which is under the DBFS. That's we discussed already. Okay. Now the workspace setup. So how the workspace will get set up for the Databricks under the tables or the storage location. It's not only for the table, but the data when we'll do the massaging, we'll play around the data when we'll do the different layer movement. So that's like the how we will like do that works space setup. DBFS, it's act as a abstract layer on that like the allow Databricks to manage file efficiently using underlying storage. See, understand here, using underlying storage like ADLS or the Blob. Many time why I am forcing here the underlying storage, because DBFS they don't have their designated or the respective storage. They always use the default whatever we provide, setting of the Databricks time. So that's the storage they will use. But many time people will get confused here. The managed table data will get stored in DBFS and unmanaged table data will get stored in the ADLS or the Blob. It's not like that case, but we have the freedom here in the unmanaged table. We do not have that much freedom. The data point in managed table. Okay. So default path managed table store the data in location like user means just the I'm giving the example user have warehouse within the DBFS backed by the linked storage account storage backed. Okay, the option and performance. DBFS is typically backed by the ADLS Gen 2 throughout. It can also be Azure Blob also. The cost structure underlying the cost implement implementation using the Azure Databricks is crucial. By budgeting means like the budget, the whatever the project will use, we have to understand the resource cost, storage cost, and how much computing cost we are using. So that's the implication we will understand here. The storage cost, user are charged based on the amount of the data stored and action performed like read write according to the Azure prices for the blob and ADLS storage. So storage cost like the what type of the storage we are using and how much data we are like frequently calling that, or we are reading, or we are writing, we are inserting. So based on that the Azure will cost. Pricing varies based on the factors such as the storage redundancy, access tier, hot cold, and graphical location, so which from which part of the data center you are trying to capture or the store the data. So that's the storage cost, totally depend on that. So that's the only part where we are talking about the storage cost here, not the Databricks cost. This is the storage cost where our data will get stored. So let's understand now the Databricks cost, computing cost. So the where the computing cost will come, that's the Databricks cost. The running Databricks cluster in occur separate fee based on the type of Azure VM used in their configuration. It's essential to note that while storage costs are based on the underlying storage used, computation cost pertain to Databricks cluster used for processing the data. See, the storage cost is typically the storage location is separately. We will cost and always like the if you understand Azure calculator, so the storage cost is different. And when we talking about the cluster or the computation cost or compute cost where the data will flow, the lot of virtual machine required for us, how much uh, the computation cost we are using. So based on that like the running cost, it will be get in the bucket of the data breaks. So or it may be like the whatever the cloud we are using, so that's the cost will get divided here. Okay, so let's understand the next page, the conclusion. So what's the takeaway about on these like, so what we understand. So the highlight I like to give, managed table data is stored in DBFS within the Azure Blob or the ADLS, which Databricks manage the lifecycle. Unmanaged table user control the data path with storage cost directly tied to the specific location. DBFS serve as the interface of the accessing the Azure Blob, facilitating managing the both type of the table. Got it? Okay. For additional information, you can refer the Azure Databricks documentation. This is the some of the link I have given the below. But like the main understanding here, So like to give the some more detail on this. So the cost when we discuss here, so which one is the cheaper and which one is the costly? So when we use the managed table, though we have to give the Databricks handling lifecycle, backup, manage, meant all this cost we have to give, and the topically like the storage also top of that. But when we use the unmanaged table, you control the storage, paying only for raw storage cost and compute usage. Means here like just the storage cost and compute usage we are giving in the unmanaged table, but in managed table we are like giving the Databricks handling the life cycle, backup, management. So these are the extra cost we have to do. That's why the managed table always the costlier than unmanaged table. So thank you. Let's catch into the next video.